everybody, it's Marco Filippi here, and I am the CEO and founder of Volvero. Volvero is a new form of shared mobility in which through an app, owners of different kind of vehicles can share the vehicles with a community of drivers. So it's a service similar to Airbnb, but not for room, just for cars, motorcycles, and the recreational vehicles. We started with this business 3 years ago. Of course, the world has changed quickly after that, and we are now delivering in our first countries, but we have, of course, a global ambition. A few words about me and myself. I have experience in finance, so I studied finance both for my bachelor and master. I worked a bit in the industry, and then I decided I wanted to start a company. And so since then, it was mid-2018, I am in charge of leading Volvero to becoming a global player into the shared mobility space. Through this experience, I had the chance to meet amazing people all over the world, and also to live 1 year in the United States, Chicago and San Francisco. And of course, that was really a life-changing experience for someone that who wants to become an entrepreneur in the tech space. And while I was in San Francisco, I also did a collaboration as a sort of freelance for a venture capital. And through that experience that lasts for 8 months, I had the chance really to learn a lot and see a lot of things happening there. So then I moved back to Europe because of course, the times start being very hot for us, so we have to be focused with the commercialization of the app, and we are here today in that moment when we are really delivering the service of Volvero to our first community of users. Yeah, so we are really trying to make or create a very simple user experience for our users. So we have to understand that not all of the users are very technology savvy, and therefore we want to really make it easy for every kind of users to use our service. So now the team is fully focused on improving and reviewing the flows of the app, both from a user experience, a customer journey, and also user interface. So how people see the app, the screens, the design, and how do they interact with the app, and what happens when something is triggered. And therefore, we are really pushing a lot into this area right now. So trying really to simplify even more the customer journey. So that's what we are doing right now. We think that we need to be a very accessible and democratic solution for everybody. So we don't just want people that are able to use technology with fluency, but also we want to deliver the service to those kind of users that may not be that good with technology. Even for using an app, we don't realize that there has to be a lot of experience when we as users are using someone else's app. But we have to think about, for instance, our parents that are in their 50s or 60s. It's not that simple for them to being able to play with the app. So we are also trying to really create something that works for everybody. And why not? Maybe to also create a different user experience based on who the customer is. So when someone is signing up, he or she will have also different user experience, a customer journey based on who the person is. So the greatest added value for the customer is that through our app, users and drivers in particular really have the chance to find the most suitable vehicles for their necessities all around them. So right now there are a lot of troubles with the current car rental systems. It's very difficult to rent a car and to be sure of the car you're renting, to be sure about the price you're paying, because there are always some sort of clauses that users are not aware of. So you think you're paying 50 euro per day for renting a car, and then you would find out that you will pay maybe double of that price in certain cases. So with us, it's really the transparency of the service and the easiness in the accessibility of the service itself. So it's not just about how easy it is to use the app for finding vehicles around you, but it's also good that you can really have vehicles available 24/7, regardless where you are. Rather, if you are trying to rent a car or another kind of vehicle through car rental services, for instance, you just have like office hours in which you can go to their shop and to rent a car. And usually the shops are located only at the airport. So for most of the people, this is a very difficult solution. So we are really trying to bring simplicity and clarity in the car sharing solutions. Yeah, so that's another great question. If I have to name some trends, I would say, of course, share mobility is the trend that is growing faster and faster and bigger. And I think that's the main trend for the next 10 years. So share mobility and micromobility, of course. Micromobility, because we are realizing that for covering probably 80% of our daily necessities, we can really just rely on micromobility services like scooter sharing companies or bike sharing or this kind of solutions. Volvero is not targeting the micromobility because we are targeting needs that are for 1 day or more. So I need a car because I want to travel for the weekend, for instance. So I am using Volvero. Or I need a van for relocating and I need to move a lot of stuff. So I find a van on Volvero. So that's kind of what we are doing in details. So share mobility, micromobility. Of course, electric vehicle is a thing, but I think that there are still a lot of cons with electric vehicles that we are not considering that much. Like, for instance, what are we going to do with the batteries once they are done? We are also trying, to somehow propose something for using these used batteries, because, for instance, used batteries of electric vehicles may not be good for using them again on a vehicle, but can be used and good for other kind of uses different than electric vehicles. Last thing I would like to mention is autonomous vehicle. I think that autonomous vehicles will be for sure the standard in the future, but it will take longer than what we expect. So I have good reasons to believe that it will take more than 20 years probably for having autonomous vehicles circulating in the streets of the world as a global standard. That's because there are so many things that still have to be fixed before seeing a global expansion of this technology. And also because, of course, we don't have to forget that sometimes it's not just about technology, but also about other kind of things, like, for instance, the importance of the lobbies, or, for instance, the huge amount of drivers that in the future may lose their job because of autonomous vehicles. So they will for sure try to slow down the the commercialization of this kind of technology. That's a very difficult moment when you're rolling out innovative services in the mobility industry, because mobility, people don't understand and don't realize how complex it is. It's not just about taking a new kind of vehicle and put it in the street and that's it, but you also have to comply with rules, regulation, insurance requirements, and this is just things that are related. These are just things that are related to an aspect. Then you have all the technical challenges, and not only the technical challenges, but also the challenges in the adoption of the new technology or the new service by the population. So it's an extremely complex ecosystem, and indeed we see a lot of projects coming out, a lot of projects also failing or processing slower than what they expected, just because there are so many factors that really affect the results of the commercialization of a new service. Volvero is a clear example of this. So we were born 3 years ago as a company, 5 years ago as a concept, and it really took us a long time to being able to commercialize. That's because regulations are constantly changing, but also technology is constantly changing, and it's very difficult, to have everything put in place at the proper time. So those are probably the most difficult things, but also we shouldn't forget, and it's worth noting that for sure also the mindset of people and their habits play a very important role in this game. So it's not just about having everything working there or everything perfect, but it's also about how people are actually using or not using the new proposed service. Being ready for commercialization requires a lot of steps in preparation for that. Of course, not only things for getting ready from a technical perspective and from a legal perspective, but also in terms of being sure that there is demand for what you're trying to offer. How can someone be sure that there is demand? Well, you can't be sure, but there are several steps that someone can do in order to be sure that at least there is an opportunity in the market. Of course, the first step is to do your own researches. So this is something that most of the early stage startup forget to do. So be sure that they know everything about what's happening in the world around them. And that's the first thing. The second thing is to really talk with a lot of people from different contexts. So different contexts, different background, different nationalities, different age, different gender, different culture. So you're sure that the problem you're trying to target has at least or is at least felt like a huge problem by some of these kind of segments that I just described. So these are the two most basic things. And the third one, which is very important, is that once you said, okay, we can deliver the service. Okay, there is someone that really needs the service. Then when you have a prototype or the so-called MVP, minimum viable product, you want to start getting traction. And for us, in our case, was okay. We start talking to our potential users, showing them the app, and we got car dealers, car rentals on board for being our users. So, okay, we want to put our vehicles available to the community of Volvero. So what can we do in order to do so? Because they realized that for them this was a great business opportunity. It's a new way for renting out vehicles with no hassle. They just have to deal with the app, put their cars available. We take care of the due diligence, providing insurance coverage, providing the payment platform, and providing feedback control on how people are using the service. So in our case, it was the car rentals, car dealers chasing us for using the app. That was the clear signal, okay, we should go live now. In the specific field of mobility, I think that founders should be really aware of what the ecosystem is, because as said before, it's a very, very complex ecosystem. So it's not just about validating your idea or being in love with what you're doing, but also being very aware of who the players and the stakeholders in the space and domain are. So that's super important. And also being aware of what are the legal requirements and regulations that are covering a certain domain, a certain market. And I think that this leads me to the clear point of the importance of the team. So, of course, one person can do all of this alone. And as everybody when interviewed and asked about what's the most important thing in a startup, I want to conclude by saying it's the team, of course, because in order to being able to tackle all of different aspects, you need to have an outstanding and amazing team that is working along with you. Our website is www.volvero.com. So can just Google, put Volvero, and you will find us. We are commercializing in Italy. We have some plans for 2021. We already want to expand into international markets. We already have agreements in place for doing so. So I'm sure that when people will start hearing about us, we will be probably even in more than one country. And I really welcome all of the people that are following this interview to try our service, and maybe why not to visit Italy this year for your holiday and to rent a car on Volvero. Well, to our entrepreneurs that are following our conversation, I just wanted to say it's a difficult path, but don't get discouraged. Always fight for what you believe for, and you will be super satisfied with what you have built. One day you will look back and you will be super happy and impressed by the result that you have achieved. Regardless if your startup was a success or a failure, it can happen. There is no problem in failing as long as someone tried very hard in achieving the result.